ever wondered what goes on under the fairing of a modern Grand Prix motorcycle, this is what goes on. This is a state-of-the-art Grand Prix motorcycle. It's a 500cc Honda of the type that Wayne Gardner and Freddie Spencer ride. Down there are 4 water-cooled cylinders, 500cc. It produces 160 horsepower. It weighs 120 kilograms. There is a 6-speed gearbox, and believe it or not, if the gearing is right, it will do 180 miles an hour. And this is the machine, and ones like it, that they're going to be riding in the 500cc Grand Prix at Donington today. How's this for a contrast? This 80cc works trouser has got a single-cylinder engine which develops 32 brake horsepower. It has a 6-speed gearbox. The engine revs at 14,500 RPM, and believe it or not, it will do 140 miles an hour. Fantastic. This is Donington 50 years ago, and this is sidecar racing at Donington 50 years ago. In those days, the bike and the chair were separate entities, but now they're one and the same. This is the Fowler Yamaha sidecar outfit. Steve Webster is leading the championship with his colleague Tony Hewitt, who does the business at the back. Now, this ludicrously small area is where Tony Hewitt works. Tony, show us what you do on a right-hander. Okay, now you've got a left-hander approaching. You know what the outfit looks like on the track, but I expect you've wondered what it looks like underneath. Very complicated is the answer. Let's take the cover off and have a look. Well, here it is without the cover, and this is literally the bones of the modern sidecar outfit. This sheet aluminium spar which runs the whole length. The engine is mounted behind the rider. It's a transverse 4-cylinder Yamaha engine. The rider operates the pedals with his feet. There is the gear change, and here is the brake. The exhaust pipes run forward, and the exhaust comes out there. And the suspension is just like a modern racing car. It is wishbone suspension with single bolt-on wheels. So if you like, the modern sidecar outfit is a racing car with 3 wheels. The first ever British Grand Prix at Donington was a rip-roaring, unqualified success. 5 races, and the most important of which was the 500cc solo race, the one they'd all come to see because, amongst other things, it was the race at which 3 times world champion Freddie Spencer made his return. After 8 rounds, Wayne Gardner, the Australian on the Honda, was leading with 93 points, ahead of Randy Mamola from America on the Yamaha in 2nd place. His compatriot Eddie Lawson, double world champion, 3rd. The top Briton, Ron Haslam, and in 5th place the Italian Pier Francesco Chili. Britain Rob McElhenney tied with Tadahiko Taira, the Japanese rider, for 6th place, and in 8th position the Scotsman Neil Mackenzie. So now let's join the riders on the grid. Wayne Gardner in pole position, the likeable Australian, the World Championship leader, who won in West Germany, who won in Holland, and is leading the championship by a clear 18 points. Well, there is the enormously successful Randy Mamola, and he's won this year's Japanese Grand Prix. He's had 3 second places. He's 2nd in the World Championship. He has won the British Grand Prix twice already, and he is very, very relaxed and confident. There are the eyes of Eddie Lawson, 3rd in the World Championship. He is a bit demoralised because of the success of Wayne Gardner. So the front rank of the grid, left, number 2, Wayne Gardner, pole position. Alongside him, number 1, world champion Eddie Lawson. Alongside him, number 3, behind the man with the red flag, Randy Mamola, double Grand Prix winner. Alongside him, number 11, Neil Mackenzie, the Scotsman in his first full year as a works rider. Completing the front rank on the blue Yamaha X250 world champion Christian Saron. On the left of the grid on the 2nd row, Number 9 is the distinctive black Honda. There he is of Rocket Ron Haslam. Then alongside him is Rob McElhenney, and Freddie Spencer, number 19, making it. There he is in the centre of your picture now. And then Didier de Radiguez on the leading European machine, number 7, the Belgian on the Cagiva, the Italian Cagiva. The red light is on, and it goes, and Rocket Ron is up alongside Wayne Gardner. It's a superb start for the Englishman, and as they peel off into the right-hander at Redgate and go soaring through, it looks as though everybody is well away. Rob McElhenney has made up a few places. Now it is the fast, tremendously quick sweep down to the Craner curves. And they're doing about 145 miles an hour from a standing start as they go through here. And it's Spencer, Freddie Spencer, back in Grand Prix racing, who is leading. Has fast Freddie been sandbagging all the time? Has he got his racing sharpness back again? This is an absolutely sensational development right at the start of the British Grand Prix, something that not even his enthusiastic followers would have believed possible. There's McElhenney streaming through. And so Spencer on the Honda, followed by world champion Eddie Lawson. There is Randy Mamola on the Yamaha, going through in about 4th position. But just look at the pace of 3 times world champion. Down to the S's they come for the first time. Second gear, about 75 miles an hour, and Haslam is in 2nd position. Haslam has moved up into 2nd position ahead of Lawson. Great stuff. There is Ron. Very distinctive, his riding style. He sort of hunches over on the right-hand side of the machine. Number 1 is Lawson. Wayne Gardner is in 4th position as they go round the Melbourne hairpin for the first time in this 30-lap race. Neil Mackenzie is behind him, and there is the leader. 25-year-old Freddie Spencer from Shreveport. That is Neil Mackenzie on the Works Honda out of the left, and it's Spencer, Haslam, Lawson, Gardner. Didier de Radiguez is in 5th position, and in 6th place is Neil Mackenzie. And Barry Sheen, what a sensational start for Freddie Spencer.
Well, yeah, it certainly took everybody by surprise. The best thing in the world he could do, really, because psychologically everybody was discounting Freddie Spencer. You know, thinking he was having a hard time in practice, but when you're sitting on the line, you're not worried about Spencer. All of a sudden, he's up the front there. So psychologically, he definitely has the advantage. It's incredible. De Radiguez on the Italian Cagiva is in 5th place. I mean, that is really a tremendous effort on his behalf.
Yes, the Cagiva has been getting better and better as a machine. They've had Kenny Roberts testing it, paid him a king's ransom to do so. But back to the front of the race, and on lap 2 in this 30-lap race, Freddie Spencer leads Ron Haslam, who has got Eddie Lawson 3rd, who has got behind him Wayne Gardner, the World Championship leader, who's moving up onto the outside as they come to the S's. And Wayne Gardner sidles his way through. Eddie Lawson will have nothing of it, slams the door in his face. Wayne Gardner stays where he was in 4th position. So it's Honda leading, Honda 2nd, Yamaha 3rd, Honda 4th, the Cagiva in 5th place, and in 6th position the Yamaha of Randy Mamola out of Melbourne. And look at the way the front wheel rises off the ground as the rider feeds in the power. This is Goddard, and this is the end of the 3rd lap in this 30-lap race. And it's Spencer, Haslam, Lawson, Gardner, de Radiguez, Mamola, and then Saron, and behind Saron is Neil Mackenzie, and there they are in one big surging lump around Redgate.
Yeah, we should see some interesting racing between Gardner and Lawson, because I think there's a little bit of needle there, and it should be. I've noticed that Eddie's closing the door a bit on Gardner, not unfairly so. So we Eddie,
Lawson to 2nd place. Eddie Lawson to 2nd place, and you are absolutely right, Barry, because Wayne Gardner has been luxuriating in the atmosphere of having a superior machine to Eddie Lawson and trying to outsight the American. But Yamaha have done a lot of work on the bike recently, and it seems to be going a lot better here.
Yeah, it sure does. Eddie came good at the end of practice yesterday, and as I say, you know, Wayne said a couple of things about Eddie that he's given up. He stopped trying for the World Championship, and I think it sort of needled Eddie a bit, and this is the reply.
I cannot overemphasize what an amazing ride already it is of Freddie Spencer. He has not ridden in a race effectively for 18 months. He's had no practice, he's had wrist injuries, he's had knee injuries, he's broken his collarbone twice. He's only had 3 days to get back into the racing groove, and he said to me yesterday, you know, racing is a bit like riding a bicycle. Once you've done it and you know how to do it, you always remember.
Yeah, that's very true, Murray, but the only problem is, I think physically, Freddie might be struggling later on in the race, because with a 500 Grand Prix bike, it's not very hot here today, but it's still an extreme sort of exertion physically, and I think as the race gets to the later stages, if he's still in good physical shape, then I will be very, very surprised.
10 out of 10 to Freddie Spencer, 10 out of 10 to Ron Haslam. He holds his third position. Only Eddie Lawson and Freddie Spencer are in front of him. There he is, number 9. World Championship leader Wayne Gardner, who may be playing a waiting game, although I rather doubt it, is in 4th position. The first 4 are breaking away slightly, and in 5th position now it's Christian Saron on the Yamaha. There he is, number 6, followed by Belgian Didier de Rodriguez. A terrific ride by the Belgian on the Kejiva. But what style and what performance, and look at Haslam. Haslam is up alongside Lawson, and Lawson is through.
I think Spencer either made a little bit of a muck up there, or he's got machine trouble. I think he's got bike trouble, because he's back now to 5th place.
Straight down to 5th place. Into the lead goes number 1, world champion Eddie Lawson. Up into 2nd place goes Ron Haslam. Up into 3rd goes Wayne Gardner. Up into 4th goes Saron. Down to 5th goes Freddie Spencer. And through goes Randy Mamola. So the American is on his way.
Yeah, I think you'll find that Spencer will be in the pits by the looks of it, because I know they had his engine in pieces this morning. In the warm-up he had a bit of a problem, and I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him retire.
He has lost another place, as you say that. But over the line, it's Lawson, Haslam, Gardner, Saron, Mamola, de Rodriguez. Neil Mackenzie is closing up now and has moved through and up a place. Look for number 11. There he is. And all these bikes, of course, have got slick tyres, no tread on them. Lawson. Well, Eddie Lawson's got his leading ability back, but now Wayne Gardner is showing Ron Haslam his front wheel, and now he's showing him his back wheel.
Yeah, he's certainly coming up, Wayne. He's pressing on, and by the reports that I read of all the races, out.
Freddie Spencer out of the British Grand Prix. He did not have anything to prove, but my goodness, he has shown us he's lost none of his ability. I am utterly confident that it's not a Freddie Spencer problem. You can see by the frustrated way he nods his head in fury that he's got a bike problem.
Well, it's sad for him. I mean, the way his luck's going, if he had a ducket around, you know, it's a real pity.
And now Wayne Gardner has only got one man ahead of him. It is his main protagonist of the season, world champion Eddie Lawson, who won in West Germany and Holland. And don't forget that number 3, Randy Mamola, in 5th place, declared his intention before this race even started of there he is playing a waiting game. Randy Mamola is in a strong position. He's only a few lengths behind the leader. He's down in 5th place, and he can watch points.
He sure can, and don't forget now, Randy is a bit of a Grand Prix veteran. It sounds quite funny, but he's ridden an awful lot of Grand Prix, and as I say, he's finished 2nd in the World Championship about 3 times. He's ever so experienced, and he's got his whole racing thing in control now. He'd also be really keen to win, because 20% of his prize money goes to Save the Children Fund, which is a nice thing.
This is Roger Burnett. We are with Roger Burnett now, the British rider on the Works Honda 4.
It doesn't even seem like it's in the race, because I can't see anybody. He can't see anybody in front. I guess he's at the front of the 2nd pack.
Yes, Burnett is actually in a fine 7th place. But such is the pace in front of him that he's on his own with a clear circuit as Lawson, Gardner, Haslam, Saron, Mamola go through, but as quickly as that. Then there's a gap, and Burnett is now in 6th position. He's well up in the points.
you see what I was saying about tyres? I was talking to the Michelin technician this morning, and after the 250cc race, they were very, very surprised at the wear rate, so I think we can have a few problems.
Christian Sarron moves up ahead of Ron Haslam into third place. Number 6, Christian Sarron, the 32-year-old Frenchman from Clermont-Ferrand, the protégé of the late world champion Patrick Pons, is charging. He has had injuries in the past to contend with. He's recovered from them magnificently, and he is very much in the hunt. In fact, Christian Sarron has just put up the fastest lap of the race. He has gone round in 1 minute 39.91, and that is a speed of 90.08 miles an hour. That's in race trim. Now look at Roger Burnett, the young Englishman on the Honda. This is the bike that's carrying our race camera, and there is the proof of it as Burnett heels the bike over. And he's doing about 130 miles an hour, and in front of him is Neil Mackenzie, the Honda rider, and Mackenzie is in 6th position, Burnett is in 7th. Listen to the Honda of Roger Burnett.
Roger Burnett was extremely good on the brakes, and he's chasing Neil Mackenzie, and if you watch the little dot in the middle of Roger's screen, going down into the braking here, you see Roger's very good on the braking. See how much... Oh, excellent, Roger. He makes a hell of a lot of ground on braking, but he's on the old Honda, so as you can see, Mackenzie pulls away a hell of a lot coming out the corners.
And here are the leaders. We're approaching half distance now. We're on lap 12, half distance is lap 15, and you can see how close the battle is. As Mamola now is right up with Wayne Gardner, but seemingly quite content to stay where he is.
I think he might just be, by the looks of it, he's just having a look to see the braking style of Wayne and just to see where he can nip through. And the best thing in racing, if you can nip through on a surprise place and you take somebody really by surprise, it's much easier to pull out. And oh, tyres are getting a little bit on the hot side.
Yes, you sound quite dispassionate about it. I find it absolutely heart-stopping. And Christian Sarron closed up about half a machine's length there. And there's Freddie Spencer in the pits explaining whatever his problem was. Now, the problem, we have just heard from the Honda pit that the problem with Freddie Spencer's Honda was that the rear wheel locked up. Barry?
Well, rear wheel locks, I don't know, the engine could have temporarily seized, or... Oh, nice
and
one,
Randy Mamola is now up into 2nd place. The man who was 8th on the first lap, 7th on the second lap, 5th on the 4th lap, and he stayed there until lap 9 when he moved up to 4th position. Lap 10 he was 3rd. He stayed there and he's now in 2nd position. Randy Mamola is the challenger.
He should have had a little sign on the back then saying, "It's dry, Wayne." I think that would wound Wayne up a bit.
Yes, the point of that remark being that Randy Mamola's 2 Grand Prix victories this year have both been in very wet races. Randy rides on Dunlop tyres and all the others ride on Michelin, and Dunlop have certainly got a better wet weather tyre. And hence a notice on his back saying it's dry would say I go quite well in the dry too, and so do my tyres. And the fastest lap has just been put up by Randy Mamola in getting past Wayne Gardner. 1 minute 39.61, 90.35 miles an hour. Haslam. Ron Haslam seems to get further over the bike than anybody else. He's almost got his chest on the steering head.
Yeah, Ronnie's style's always been like that. You'll see he comes out, he gets his head down very low, and that's... He looks through the screen, and that's something that most of us could never do. I don't know, it just sort of distorts everything, but seems to work all right for our Ronnie.
And that is the battle for 7th position, currently held by Roger Burnett. Here he goes on the last year's V4 Honda, and Wayne Gardner said of this machine, "I learned so much from mastering it that this year's Honda seems easy to ride," and I expect the same will apply to Roger Burnett when he gets onto a better machine in 1988.
Well, that's it. You know, Roger said that he's a real handful to ride. You know, it doesn't... He rode my bike once and said how good it handled, and in comparison to that, you can see it wriggling. Oh, that's a good shot.
Rodriguez, who's got past. Now you see what Roger Burnett has seen. The Belgian on the European Cagiva, the Italian bike, B4, and see how far he gets his knee out, and see how far they heel over. Now we're going down, all of us, with Roger Burnett, to the right-hander at Redgate, and we're going round now at about 115 miles an hour.
Yeah, he's very good on the brakes, Roger Burnett, and you can see that the thing that he's riding is not quick, because you'll see that when he comes out of a corner, Didier de Radiguez that he's following will actually pull away from him. And you see now coming down into the old hairpin. You see, outstanding on the brakes, but they want to give him something to make it go, not stop.
Talking about going, look at the rev counter needle in the bottom right-hand corner, hovering around between 10,000 and 11,000 RPM as he goes down. Past nice. Rodriguez. Great stuff.
Yeah, it's a good place to pass there. It's and Didier's come back.
Take that, you.
This is fun, Marion.
So, and meantime, don't forget, these two are only 7th and 8th now. Here is the leader, Eddie Lawson. Well, unless Mamola has got a lot in reserve, it looks as though Steady Eddie is in a good position to win again this year, and that would be for the 3rd time. There is Christian Sarrel on the B4 Yamaha, 4th in the race. Lawson, the leader. Now look for Mamola. There's the gap. Not nearly as much of a gap between Mamola 2nd and Gardner 3rd as there is between race leader number 1, Eddie Lawson, and Randy Mamola, number 3 in the background, who is 2nd. And Sarron still there. Neil Mackenzie next in 5th position. Ronnie Haslam in 6th place. Lap 18, 30-lap race.
Actually, it looks as if Didier de Radiguez and Roger Burnett are pulling back in a little bit on Ron Haslam.
And Neil Mackenzie that we're looking at now is another man who's just recovering from injuries. He, like Martin Wimmer in the 250 race, broke an ankle earlier this season. In fact, he's only really just recovered from it, having broken a leg at Cadwell Park last year. And the man who's the 250 and 350 British champion, who rode the British Armstrong machine, which is effectively pulled out of racing, suddenly got his break when this time last year, number 11 there, Neil Mackenzie, got the opportunity to ride a works Suzuki in the British Grand Prix, and he rode so well that he was snapped up by Honda to accompany Freddie Spencer this year, and here he is. There is Lawson, and Wayne Gardner now back into 2nd position. Number 14 out of the race, Gustav Reiner, the West German rider on a 3-cylinder Honda. And the gap now is 1.3 seconds, so Wayne Gardner has halved the lead of Eddie Lawson in 1 lap, primarily due to his superior luck in getting past the tail enders, I suspect.
Oh yeah, that's pretty true, but obviously Wayne's pressing on a bit now, so it's a little bit of both.
Although, interestingly, Randy Mamola still holds the fastest lap, 1 minute 39.6, 90.35 miles an hour. Eddie Lawson Yamaha leads Wayne Gardner Honda. 3rd is Randy Mamola Yamaha. In 4th position, it's Christian Sarron Yamaha. In 5th position, it's Neil Mackenzie Honda. And in 6th place, it's Ron Haslam on the Honda. And this is Randy Mamola, who is in 3rd place, number 3. Coppice corner.
I would say that Randy's having a bit of trouble with what I don't know, because he's lost an awful lot of ground.
Yes, because you never know. You stand here and look at them, and afterwards you find that the tyres had gone off, or that they'd lost a gear, or that the clutch was slipping. We can't tell looking at them, but as you say, Barry, it would seem that Randy Mamola, there's the gap, you see.
I would say it's an odds-on favourite battle between Eddie Lawson and Wayne Gardner.
Andy McGladdery out of the race. Well, that's bad luck for him. 1 minute 1:39.5, new lap record at Donington to Wayne Gardner on the V4 Honda, 90.44 miles an hour. And there's the man he is chasing on lap 22, and that's the gap. Wayne Gardner, this tough, determined little Australian from Wollongong, is on the rampage now.
He certainly is trying now, Wayne, because you can see the bike sort of snaking under braking, and I would say it's not going to be long before Wayne is up the front.
Roger Marshall, and now Marshall is into the pits, incidentally the British champion many times over, and we're back again with Roger Burnett as he comes. There's I'll get it right in a minute. Rob McElney in front of him in the red leathers. Rob McElney on the Works Yamaha, pulling away from Roger Burnett on last year's Honda 4. Lap 24, that's the gap, as Lawson, number 1, comes up to take another tail-ender with his front wheel literally pouring the air, and that is not done for bravado or sensationalism. It's done because it is very difficult to control the front wheel. Such is the power of these bikes, 160 brake horsepower. And of course you can loop the loop very easily if you're not very experienced. And they have just lapped Sandro Valesi, the Italian, on his 3-cylinder Honda. And
if it ends up being a sort of a last couple of corners effort, watching Wayne on the brakes is really good on the brakes. I know from the days when I was racing. So if Eddie is going to win it, he's going to have to really watch out the last 2 or 3 corners, because Wayne is a star when it comes to sticking out the inside and getting on at the last minute.
Barring machine trouble, it has got to be one of those 2 men as we look at number 11, Neil Mackenzie, in 5th place on the Honda 4, because Randy Mamola, who had declared his intention to play a waiting game, is obviously in some sort of trouble. He is now 7 seconds behind the battle for the lead, and that is much too much at this stage of the race. So it is between number 1, there he is in his distinctive leathers, Eddie Lawson, and the man from Wollongong, Wayne Gardner. If you were in Wayne's position, when would you be making your charge?
If I was in Wayne's position, I'd sit right where he is now, and I'd keep sort of fiddling up the inside and up the outside. But you see, maybe he's got more in hand. He's just waiting for the right moment where he can nip past and then go for it for a couple of laps and pull out a lead. It's difficult to say. And
meantime, Eddie Lawson, who has had a bit of a thing about the superior power and performance of the Honda 4 this year, will obviously, despite his experience and maturity, be worried, because literally almost Wayne Gardner's front tyre is rubbing his rear tyre. Up from Starkey's to McLean's into 3rd gear, accelerating away at about 115 miles an hour, and it does indeed look as though Wayne Gardner, having closed the gap, he was down in 8th position on the first lap, and look at him now.
I would say this is the time where he's going to go for it. He'll get right up Eddie's backside and go for it coming into the chicane here. Now you see Eddie knows he's really close, so it didn't look to me then as if the Honda was any quicker on the top end.
This first British Grand Prix meeting, where all 5 classes have been held on the same day, must be adjudged to have been an enormous success, and thank heavens the weather has contributed. And now, is this going to be the break point? Are both Lawson and Gardner going to be able to get smoothly past these 3 men that they are about to lap?
Well, it's a good place to come up on them, because it's coming into the straight, and we're just hoping that they can get close enough. I don't think you get all 3 by the time you get to the chicane.
Lawson might, Gardner won't. Lawson is now.
Go on. Oh.
One down, 2 to go.
Now the ideal thing for Eddie is if he can leave those other 2 in front of Wayne for the last couple of corners, then it's going to make so much difference to him.
Oh no, you don't, says Wayne Gardner. I am past.
You have to be so much on the ball at that stage, because you can completely blow it if you waste any time getting past.
Wayne passes Hervé Guyot there, number 24, Wolfgang von Muralt, the German rider, and they are both past all three as they come through now to start lap 28. 3 laps to go, including the one they've just started. This British Grand Prix is between these two men. All eyes are on Eddie Lawson, Yamaha, number 1 world champion. Wayne Gardner, number 2, Honda, who is leading the World Championship. Behind them still, Randy Mamola in 3rd place. Christian Saron is still 4th. Neil Mackenzie is in 5th position. De Rodriguez on the Pajiva is 6th. McKelney is 7th. Haslam is 8th. Burnett is 9th. And Tadahiko Taira is in 10th place.
Yeah, it does look as if Eddie is really getting it. Obviously now Eddie would be putting everything into it he's got now, so this is the real telltale lap. You know, it's the time where you think, okay, I've got to go for it now. It's the last couple of laps. Obviously you put everything you have into it and just hope for the best. You know, you see a black marker in front of you and you think, oh, get out of the way, you know, or just let be in the right. He's in the right position now, perfect position to muck Wayne up for the next 2 corners. You know, it's just sheer luck with the black markers.
He's just taken Henny Burman, the Dutch rider, and I think Wayne's going to be all right because he's coming down to Melbourne. He will have the superior performance, and he's got it. And Wayne Gardner is fighting back to get into contention with Eddie Lawson as they come up now to start the penultimate lap. Lap 29 out of 30. 2 to go at the end of this one, and that's soon.
This is where you have to be so careful when you're really struggling that you don't go and make a mistake, because you can howl into a hairpin or into the S's and just leave your brake into the last moment and just leave it too late, run wide, and you've completely blown your chance.
And it rather looks to me now as though Lawson has got enough of a cushion. I can't believe that Gardner has got enough left to be able to catch and get past Lawson in the 2 laps that are left, including the one they're on. Wayne Gardner has still got the lap record, nevertheless, 90.44 miles an hour. But Eddie Lawson may well be breaking it in one of these last 2 laps because he is really charging now. He knows that he's got about 3 miles to go, and that is all. He knows the track like the back of his hand, of course, and his bike.
And don't forget that Wayne Gardner's leading the World Championship, and he's leading it from Mammoth, so he's not going to be too worried about Eddie. Oh, yes, it'd be lovely to win and all that, but the main thing is he wants to finish the race and get the points. So he's doing the sensible thing now. With that kind of gap, if I was Wayne, I'd just sit back and say, forget it, which by the looks of it, he has done, which is the right thing to do.
And now, as they come into Melbourne, out of Melbourne on the new loop at Donington, and up to Goddard, it is to start the last and vital 2.51 mile lap at Donington, with the glittering prize of victory in the first 500cc British Grand Prix to have been held at Donington dangling before their eyes. And it looks as though the man it is shining brightest for is number 1, Eddie Lawson. And out goes McKelney. Well, not out, he's obviously overcooked it somewhere or other, but there's his teammate. Eddie Lawson is going to make it 3 wins out of 9 races. He's going to add 15 World Championship points to the 64 he already has. But behind him in 2nd place, Wayne Gardner is going to add 12 to his.
That was bad luck for McKelney. He's had so much bad luck.
Rob McKelney has had a dreadful season. Over the crest at Coppice for the last time comes the quiet and popular, determined American from California, Eddie Lawson, the protege of Kenny Roberts, down to the S's, down to the left for the last time, in 2nd gear, about 80 miles an hour, out of the right, down to Melbourne hairpin. There is the hero, with that angle between the calf and the hip showing again, as Eddie Lawson just lets his right knee kiss the surface of the tarmac. He's got it made. He's into Goddard. He is going to win the British Grand Prix at Donington for the first time in the 500 class. Has been won by Eddie Lawson on his V4 Yamaha. 2nd is the World Championship leader. There he is, Wayne Gardner. And in third position, look for Randy Mamola. There he is. Mamola finishes in third position, so it's Yamaha's first and third. And in fourth position, Christian Saron takes the place ahead of Neil Mackenzie fifth and Didier de Rodriguez in sixth place. And to show that you can be rivals on the track and friends as well, there was the handshake between race winner Eddie Lawson and World Championship leader, second place man Wayne Gardner. A brilliant and well-deserved win then for the Californian world champion Eddie Lawson on his Yamaha. And in second position, Australian Wayne Gardner on the Honda. Third, Randy Mamola on a Yamaha. Fourth, Christian Saron. Fifth, Neil Mackenzie on a Honda. And in sixth position, Belgian Didier de Rodriguez on an Italian Cagiva. And that means to say that Wayne Gardner still holds his lead in the World Championship with Randy Mamola in second place, but Eddie Lawson has crept a bit closer to the lead, with Ron Haslam in fourth place. In the 250 class, it was multiple world champion Anton Mang from West Germany who took the victory, with in second place Loris Reggiani, in third position Martin Wimmer, fourth Jacques Cornu, in fifth place Reinhold Roth, and sixth was Patrick Igor. The World Championship is still led by Reinhold Roth, with Anton Mang much closer, Cito Pons in third position. The Italian Fausto Grissini won the 125cc British Grand Prix as he had won every other round this year. Pier Paolo Bianchi was in second place and Jean-Claude Cellini took the third position. In the World Championship, Grissini has increased his lead over Bruno Casanova, his teammate, with August Auinger holding third place and Pier Paolo Bianchi fourth. The first ever 80cc British Grand Prix was won by the Spaniard Jorge Martinet on his Spanish Derby machine at an average of over 80 miles an hour. Englishman Ian McConaughey, who won last year, was second, ahead of Gerhard Weibel, the German, and they were both on Krausers. Martinet, of course, leads the World Championship still, ahead of Weibel in second place, Herreros, who didn't ride here today, third, and Ian McConaughey in fourth position. The magnificent sidecar Grand Prix was a brilliant victory for the English pairing of Steve Webster and Tony Hewitt, who extended their lead in the World Championship. In second place, the Dutch pairing of Egbert Streuer and Bernd Schneiders, and third, the West German Rolf Steinhausen with his partner Hiller. Steve Webster and Tony Hewitt have extended their lead in the Sidecar World Championship ahead of Egbert Streuer and Bernhard Schneiders, with Michel and Fresk third, Biland and Baltisberg in fourth place, and Steve Abbott and Sean Smith sixth place. 70,000 people came to Donington today to see the Shell Oil's British Grand Prix, and they've had a marvellous day's sport. The organisation was magnificent, and so was the racing. 5 different nationalities won the 5 individual races. You can't do much better than that. Here's to the next time.